Xochimilco, declarado Patrimonio Cultural.
Xochimilco has been declared a heritage site since 1947, and it is one of the remains of the Xochimilco and Texcoco channel. To sail through its channels is also a great privilege because you can enjoy nature and landscapes. It is made up of a system of chinampas, as we call them, where food can be produced as well as plants and crops for several different species. It's a pre-Hispanic tradition, and we can also enjoy a great variety of trees. It is possible to tour the space in these boats called trajineras. They are very colorful, and Xochimilco is also a pre-Hispanic name, which means water crops, let's say. So we have a great variety of flowers as well that are planted here. Mexico City is in a privileged geographical location because we still have many natural areas that have been preserved, such as the National Park of the Desierto de los Leones, Ajusco, the Park Chapultepec, Aragon, Sierra de Guadalupe, and all of the chinampas in Tláhuac and Xochimilco. The Chapultepec Museum has more than 800 hectares and it is more than 1,500 years old. And there were many water channels connecting it to the city as well. It is possible to have many outdoor activities in this park, like biking, hiking, and just walking and enjoying the environment. We invite you to come to Mexico City and enjoy these natural areas.
Thank you. Thank you very much and welcome everyone. My name is Sima Leshim. I would love to have been there with you in Mexico City. I've had the opportunity to be there before, to work with policymakers, practitioners, activists, researchers from the social and solidarity economy. This time I'm joining you from rainy Geneva in Switzerland. And nonetheless, I will be your moderator in this hybrid format that we are able to do these days. And we will have an esteemed round of speakers, and we will have 2 rounds of presentations, 2 rounds of questions, and some recap as well. I believe we have a video introducing the plenary. Is that correct? Perhaps we already had our video, so I will proceed then. And as our host has introduced,
El cambio climático es real. Está sucediendo ahora. El planeta nos está pidiendo a gritos un nuevo rumbo. Hoy vivimos una crisis ambiental.
Desperately seeking for a change. We are undergoing an unprecedented climate crisis which compromises future generations. If we continue this way, the future will be completely uncontrolled and there will be an uncontrolled use of resources. We need a social vision so that all actions can be taken. So environmental transformation requires the participation of a set of stakeholders, solidarity networks, mutual help and cooperation. And we must always have participation. However, all this is not enough. Solutions should be collective so that production can be sustainable and consumption responsible. We need to work in a united front. And today, more than ever, changes will not only focus on economic change, but also to be in harmony with nature and to have environmental regeneration. So this is plenary number 3, contributions to environmental transformation by using SSE.
Yes, as you may have seen or heard, social and solidarity economy was highlighted as an alternative model of growth in the recent United Nations Secretary General's report on socially just transition towards sustainable development. In this report, he talked about a just transition with both social and environmental elements. In this plenary, we go beyond to reflect on environmental transformation and how we can achieve such a transformation through social and solidarity economy initiatives. And the brief video that we just saw has touched upon some of those elements, the importance of participation of all key stakeholders, the importance of collective and coordinated action. We have 6 esteemed speakers who will bring their vast and varied experiences here to us today to talk about this issue. 3 of them come from Mexico, 1 from Costa Rica, His Excellency, Vice President of Costa Rica, and 1 colleague is joining us from the Republic of Korea in Asia, where it is almost midnight, and we have 1 other colleague from Togo in Africa. So we would like to, without further delay, start with hearing our esteemed speakers. Our first speaker is the Vice President of Costa Rica, His Excellency Marvin Rodriguez Cordero. And I have personally benefited from our exchanges at the ILO with his Vice President's office and his leadership on the social economy policy in Costa Rica, on social economy research, statistics, including cooperatives, has been inspirational, not at the national level only, but also at regional and global levels. His Excellency is an educator by training. He has a degree as a professor of primary education at the University of Costa Rica and a degree in educational administration at the University of Cartago Florencio in Castillo. And for many years, he worked as a teacher and principal in different educational centers in rural and coastal areas in the provinces. So he knows the realities on the ground as well, that helps him make his macro level policy making decisions. He's currently the coordinator of the Caribbean Roundtable with the objective of generating welfare and development in the region. He's also in charge of following up on the agenda for the disabled and senior citizens. And as I mentioned earlier, his office coordinates all issues related to social and solidarity economy. Our second speaker is a practitioner, an activist, Claudia Yadira Caballero, and she's a sociologist and economist from Mexico, promoting economic alternatives that are based on community organizations. She's a member of the Tlaloc network, the first community agency in Mexico. She's also a co-founder of another alternative community currency in Mexico City, and she's been a participant actively in the World Social Forum, in the ecosystem dialogues, and also involved with some of the social and solidarity economy networks like RIPES. So we look forward to also hearing from her regarding her experiences. Our third speaker is Joo-Hee Lee, an old-time friend to us in the ILO, a partner. We have worked with Joo-Hee in her capacity as the manager of international cooperation and activities in I-Co-op. It's a federation of consumer cooperatives in Korea that is really engaged in social innovation and and environmental also innovation. She's worked extensively with social and solidarity economy organizations, fair trade organizations in her capacity, and she's also been supporting social cooperatives in her country. Our next speaker is also coming from Mexico, Oscar Velasquez. He's the president of the Innovation Consortium of the Cities and Industrial Circular Network, FAB City in Mexico. And this network focuses on building internal and external innovation capacities of medium and large enterprises as well as public sector institutions. He has more than 12 years of experience as a mentor, consultant, entrepreneur, and investor with a postgraduate professorship, where he also shares his knowledge and experiences as an educator. And our next speaker after Oscar Velasquez is Jose Luis Rodriguez Diaz de Leon. He's also coming from Mexico. He's the Secretary of Labor and Employment Promotion of Mexico City. He holds a law degree from the Law School of the National Autonomous University of Mexico, a very esteemed research institution. And he has a specialization in gender and human rights and a master's in constitutional law in the postgraduate program of UNA. He served as a local deputy in the Congress of Mexico City in its first legislature, where he was the vice coordinator of the Morena parliamentary group. And he was elected General Secretary of the Legislative Agenda of National Association of Legislators at the 4T. These are our speakers, and I really look forward to hearing their experiences. And without further delay, I would like to invite His Excellency Marvin Rodriguez Cordero to kindly present for 7 minutes his answers to the question on how can we design positive environmental impact strategies that take into account the human rights of societies in situations of violation, when these rights are being violated, and how can SSE contribute to solutions for the preservation of natural ecosystems. His Excellency, you have 7 minutes in responding to these 2 questions. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Muy buenos días.
Good morning. Representing Costa Rica's government, I would like to greet all the authorities at the GCEF forum, the authorities of the federal government in Mexico and Mexico City. I would also like to greet Mr. Manuel Martinez, the director of the National Institute for Social Economy, for his leadership in the organization of such an important event. It's important to acknowledge that INAI has had a great role in the promotion of intercooperation with countries in the region and articulating together with ECLAC, the network of governments for social economy. And I firmly believe that this will be a great platform for joint action in the continent. I would also like to greet all of my colleagues at this panel. So the topic that we will be addressing is extremely relevant in the current moment, and it is not a coincidence that the transformation in our planet is also closely tied to social and solidarity economy. Because if there is a main characteristic of this type of economy is that it is an economy for life. It is not possible to talk about a global development agenda and to talk about an economy at the core which has people at the core without having positioned the ecosystem and sustainability as a priority. This will only help us in the development. This has also been summarized in a very important phrase, in my opinion. There will be no employment in a dead planet. So this statement can be applied to all of our human activities. There will be no economy, no development, no prosperity, or distributed justice in a dead planet. So the great responsibility that we have now with this great healthcare crisis is all ours after mismanaging over the last 200 years. We have had this relationship, this abusive relationship with nature, and we have misinterpreted the fact that human beings are supposed to be centers of development, when in fact we are merely one piece of a very complex and interdependent system made up of several ecosystems. The COVID-19 pandemic and the social and economic crisis that has stemmed from it calls us to urgently re-examine our relationship with the environment, as well as the failed environmental contract. We also have the opportunity now to promote the reconstruction going beyond just recovery. Just like our production and consumption models should change to avoid perverse practices that led to this situation from happening. So in the face of this situation, Costa Rica believes that the environmental agenda is an extremely valuable tool to reconstruct based on sustainable development, with a systemic approach and with well-being drivers for everyone. Now is the time to connect all of the administrative and productive sectors and to uphold the principles and the values of this agenda, without which economic reconstruction would not make sense, because it would mean that we would have to reconstruct based on a failed system. So the efforts to carry out this green transformation require the highest level of ambition in the narrative, commitments, and concrete action, as well as congruency in the actions of the entire state system and follow-up from civil society and the private sector. Costa Rica wishes that every dollar used for reconstruction be invested on this sustainable vision, no matter where it is being destined, no matter where it is being used. So this vision is also shared by partners such as the European Union and the World Bank. As part of this systemic approach for reconstruction, Costa Rica leads, together with France, the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People. This is a coalition among governments who are committed to the sustainable development and that aspires to protect 30% of the continental and ocean territories for 2030. Aligned with the reconstruction and aligned with the OECD recommendations, Costa Rica firmly opposes any type of subsidies to fossil fuels, and in general, it also opposes any type of subsidies to activities that might harm land and marine ecosystems. We firmly believe that the transformation of these subsidies must be green. They must be changed in order to align with these goals. And there should also be taxes imposed to conventional energy production in a gradual but very ambitious way. We should also focus on energy consumption in our planet and resort to the use of clean energies, and also promote the industry that efficiently uses energy to create employment and to reduce operational costs. Costa Rica has a series of competitive advantages and can be a great decarbonization lab for the economy. 30% of our land is protected under some sort of preservation scheme. 50% of our country is made up of forests, and we have 3% of the world's biodiversity. In Costa Rica's households, the energy is 100% renewable and clean. Nature-based solutions should also become an essential part of our narrative, of our international narrative, and our national practices. We must promote its comprehensive implementation in all scales and also seek funding. Based on natural solutions, social and solidarity economy has great potential to promote the necessary transformation. And this has already happened in fields such as energy, clean energy, supply for drinking water, and participation in shared management for natural patrimony. Just as Ostrom said, social and solidarity economy is a very powerful instrument to prevent the tragedy of the commons. So we should involve all of the communities and private sector in order to make sustainable use of the resources and to provide tangible incentives to safeguard access, to safeguard nature. To conclude, this current crisis is the right time to drive a transformation of our productive systems for an economy based on life, which can ensure the protection of our planet. Only then will it be possible to put people at the core. And social and solidarity economy is maybe the best mechanism available to achieve this, because it brings together all principles. It has humanistic business models as well as innovative models. Thank you very much.
Thank you, His Excellency. We got to hear the unique experience of Costa Rica from a policy maker, national or international policymaker perspective on the two questions that we posed for this first round of the plenary. I would like to now move to Claudia Yadira Caballero, who would provide us with more of a grassroots perspective and activist perspective from Mexico. And Claudia, you have 7 minutes to answer the same questions. How can we design positive environmental impact strategies that take into account human rights of societies in situations of violation, and how does SSE contribute with some solutions to these problems? The floor is yours, Claudia.
Pues muchas gracias. Muy buenos días, muy buenas noches.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And yes, as you well said, I will be speaking about the perspective of a grassroots organization that I have been working with for many decades now. I think the first step is being realistic, taking a very good and hard look at reality, no matter how hard it is. We are currently living, as we saw in the video, in an emergency, in a climate emergency, and communities, governments, businesses, everyone has to face it in the most honest and realistic way possible without getting desperate, trying to be positive and hopeful about the future, but being very honest. And I think that's the first step. Governments must start by accepting that we are in the middle of a climate emergency. And the social and solidarity economy model, I think, is key to help everyone understand that our economic paradigm needs to change. I am part of the social and solidarity economy. I have been so for many years, and we've discussed the need for change, the need for transformation in the way we relate to our planet. And this might even sound philosophical because it's about questioning what type of people we want to be and what types of societies we want to build together. But the pandemic has also enabled many more people, many more groups to take a very deep look at themselves and ask themselves if they want to change. And I think people are starting to acknowledge that it is possible to change. There are many groups of rural indigenous communities in cities that are starting to live differently, and they are a good example of this. So I think with this, more and more people will continue to realize that we need to start by slowing down. We cannot continue talking about growth. Even if we talk about sustainable growth, we have to understand that our planet has limits. Gaia has limits. Scientists have warned us about this. We have to learn to live with the resources that we already have. We have to learn to live within the borders of certain territories where we are, and we need to live in harmony with nature. We need to understand that we are eco-dependent, but also interdependent. And I think when we see it like this, we will start establishing different relations with each other and with the environment, with the territory that we have traditionally exploited, and with each other. Because if we don't recognize that there are material limits and that we have to try to understand how to live with what we have, we would continue moving towards catastrophic possibilities where people will continue living under conditions that are not sustainable anymore, that could bring very serious consequences. The truth is that we all need to live better, and that implies that no one should live with luxury when others don't even have their basic needs covered. That's a basic principle of social and economic justice. So a hopeful future, in my opinion, is possible with three pillars. Firstly, we have to understand what is enough and live with what is enough for everyone in the planet. The second pillar is sharing, being ethical about sharing, understanding that whatever we have in excess, of course, needs to be shared, and whatever others don't have, we need to share. That should be a guiding ethical principle of human life. We need to take that back, and that needs to be an axis of all our work, not only in terms of ethics, but politically and economically. And something else that ecofeminism has stated very clearly is the importance of care. That would be the third pillar. Caring not only for the weak or for the diseased or children, people who are in more vulnerable situations, but caring for how we produce our essential needs, food, housing, work, the way we organize our productive activities, we need to really be careful with how we do it. So those should be the three guiding principles that really take us toward a more positive future. There are many organized groups, as I said, there are many communities who are already living like this, and often we don't see them, but I think of them as underground underground water flows. They are already there, and we need to find a way to tap into that, to open a dialogue, an open and sincere dialogue where we are ready to understand our differences as well. There is no one size fits all solution for the time we're facing. And I think that when we understand that, it's actually something that social and solidarity economy has proposed for many years, understanding that we need to live with what we have locally and we need to understand that we all have differences. We must be respectful of that as well. We, after all, are all looking for a better humanity, and we're looking for ways to live in harmony with our planet. There are two big challenges that humanity faces today. The first is to end the voracity with which we are eating away at nature. And the second is relearning how to coexist in our world so that we can put an end to wars and violence. So social and solidarity economy, in my opinion, has a lot to give. And we need to look for the right partnerships to continue to promote that.
Thank you very much, Claudia, for these very inspiring and thoughtful perspectives that are distilled, no doubt, from your experiences at the grassroots. We have our sixth speaker, Kevin Osa, who joined us. Welcome, Kevin. And Kevin is an environmental activist committed to sustainable development initiatives, and he has a degree in environmental engineering from the University of Lomé in Togo. And he has volunteered in NGOs, developing experiences in environmental management, management of projects with social and environmental impact. And he was a quality manager in a mineral water production structure. So he has first-hand experience of the production side that we are also talking about. And he's currently the Africa manager of COP in My City at Climates. The floor is yours, Kevin. We have posed these two questions, which you have probably heard. How can we design positive environmental impact strategies taking into account human rights in situations where these are being violated, and how does SSE serve these goals? You have 7 minutes, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
I was having issues with my network because there is a very hard rain here, actually, and even the light, we do not have it. We just right now recover it, and I think my network will be very good so that I can discuss with you and everyone connected. Thank you very much. I'm Kevin Osa from Togo. Togo is a very small country in West Africa, and lots of our people are agriculture. And you know, today, the climate impact is not just about a global issue, but it's also a local issue. And so if you have droughts and if you have floods, the consequences is directly linked with the agricultural season, and farmers, they are very poor, and they are small producers, so they do not have the capacity to, get loans or get funding to have insurance, or to have funding for to support the bad consequences of climate change. So sometimes it's become very difficult, and but the issues is also that the big countries are not right now taking engagement, or they are not raising their ambition to now to come up with a good solution so that we can have a common view about what we are dealing with. So they are always looking for money. You will say last year, Donald Trump was returning back from the Paris Agreement because of the money he will be gaining. And also the good news this year is that the actual president has increased the funding, the climate funding of the United States. He doubled it. And also the Chinese government, who now refuse to, fund coal industries at the global level. But those are the global issues. But at the local level, we have farmers suffering. We have women and youth, because they are the most vulnerable, who are facing hard issues of climate change. And today, we as a youth, we have started something, because we have gone to school. We now we know what is happening, but our parents, our grandparents in our village don't know what is arriving. So we go to them, and with our NGO, OJED, Organisation des Jeunes Engagés pour le Développement Durable, is like in English we say Youth Organization for Sustainable Development, because we understand that today we could not be looking for money without considering the environmental impacts and also the social impact. So it is 3 pillars that are dealing: environment, social, and economy. So we go to them and we tell them about the issues they are facing, because it is not different from the global issues, the lack of water, the lack of energy, the lack of what's the innovative solution. So we provide them innovative solutions, even though we don't have money, but always they have been looking for money, but we don't have money for them. But our knowledge, our strategies, our best practices help them improve their agricultural harvest. So we have agroecological concept that we are now implementing in a village called Tiniga. Tiniga is not far from Mochen. Mochen is my born village, but Tiniga is just by choice. We chose the place. So we go there and we raise the capacity. We build the capacity of women and the youth, because youth are very strong, to do some works, but women are those who are in the houses, who know how to manage houses. So we put them together so that they can exchange, so that they can work together on the project, and also put in their strength in common. So with that project, we are trying to provide them. We now secure an agricultural land, which is 4 hectares. So we are now trying to get funding for water, to have a water pole, so that they can, agriculture today is not just to wait for rain, because today we are not sure about the calendar, the normal calendar of rain. So maybe in some developing countries, it is already done with scientific data that provides a very good planification or prevision of when the campaign can start. But in Africa, we are always dealing with traditional ways. So we tell them, we build their capacity on. We are now trying to provide how do you call it, a water pole, so that they can have access to water. So with that water, they can do agriculture in every time. They can have their harvest in every time. And after that, we are also trying to get funding to provide them electric solar panels, so that they can have electrical photovoltaic center, so that to have energy for the transformation of their project. And after that, we know some enterprises, we know also some partners who are scaling up their business at the international level with them, to get some partners. So we should help them to get access to market, because agriculture is also a matter of getting access to market. So if we don't have market, doing agriculture is like playing. So agriculture is not a social issue, but a business. But our parents, our grandparents are not still understanding. So as youth, we are coming up with innovative tools to help them master how they can deal with climate change today and do agriculture at an innovative way, and also getting access to market, because it is very important. Because if we are talking about social economy, it's not just about social or just about human rights, but also about market. So it is all I have to say. So it is a very small project. We are at the phase of implementing. So we are waiting to get results and scaling up at a high level. Thank you. If there is any question, I can answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for these insights that are both at the local level as a practitioner, but also a perspective from Africa. I would like to now give the floor to Joo-Hae Lee from the Republic of Korea, which is now at midnight there. Joo-Hae, so thank you for staying up with us. And if you could kindly reflect on these two questions that are posed as part of this round one from your experiences for 7 minutes, please.
Thank you. So thank you for having me in this wonderful event and for an opportunity to share our experience. So as a working member of ICOOP, I'd like to more focus on our activities that we have been working for the preservation of a natural ecosystem with members and stakeholders, both in the businesses and activities as a federation of a cooperative. So at first, I'd like to introduce the ICOOP. So ICOOP is a federation of consumer cooperatives established in 1998, about 20 years ago, by 6 small cooperatives for survival. So since then, ICOOP has developed into a business association where members solve a problem by themselves through the governance, which they voluntarily participate, pursuing the goal of ethical consumption and production, based of the eco-friendly farming and the products. So now we have 101 member cooperatives. So, and we have strengthened the food system and through healthy food. And our members have been working together for organic food or fair trade and safe food without any food additives, and the microplastics and the environment, while promoting ethical consumerism that save ourselves and our neighbor and the planet. So our new goal is to maintain the people's health through good food and organic farming, and to extend this to not only members, but also to community, and furthermore, to protect the planet with members' participations. So for members and communities health, so we declare the healing and restoring, and we believe the eco-friendly food choices not only impact individual health, but also work in harmony with existing ecosystem. And also we believe that our methods can fundamentally cure lifestyle disease with healthy food, and carry out projects that allow the members to maintain healthy life throughout their life cycle, not depending on ever increasing medical visits and unhealthy food. So as solving this problem, so the members, the participation and the power of authority, the autonomy of the cooperatives are very important in ICOOP. So we pursued the members' active participation in achieving these goals. So the members of ICOB and citizen and activists who feel empathy with this, the severity of the climate crisis, organize the civil society called Consumers Climate Action. So these main activities are reducing food waste and spreading a vegetarian culture, or using less or reusing plastic, and reducing the microplastic in daily lives. So at business level, we had expanded environmental response to plastics from 2019 after recognizing the seriousness of microplastic issues. So plastic reduction is our top priority, as it is one of the most pressing environmental challenges right now. So we made a commitment to accomplish 100% recyclable plastic. And also we set up a small factory to produce recycled plastic produce. And for some products, we succeed in removing plastic trays or package. And these efforts have a ripple effect in reducing the use of plastic trays nationally. So we believe when effective industry practice can significantly reduce global warming pollution at alarming level. So we launched the water drinks made with paper cartons or sugarcane plant-based lead. And most importantly, ICOM members conduct nationwide campaigns to recycle these paper cartons or and other activities to preserve the environment and reduce the impact on the climate crisis. Also, lastly, I think these resource circulation activities are very unique in that we are community-based. So especially the members who are volunteers of ICOB, they collect packs from homes and offer them for reuse, or some member corps signed agreement with the local governments to make resource circulation city model. So they work together to inform proper recycling method or promote the transformation of the communities into a sustainable society. So also we actively cooperate with private companies. So we signed an agreement with the lots of company related to papers and to recycle cartons. So I like to say that cooperatives with the power of members can have a great influence when we cooperate with other sectors or the local governments, and this could lead to produce more examples in this industry. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm muted. Thank you. Very nice. The national example of how cooperatives can be instrumental in mobilizing their members for environmental change and also contributing to a more democratic society. So this is indeed very inspiring. Our next speaker is our two next speakers are from Mexico. And I would like to give the floor now to Oscar Velasquez for 7 minutes to respond to the same questions, please. Thank you.
Gracias. Buenos días a todos. Oscar
Thank
Velasquez.
you and good morning. I'm Oscar Velasquez, CEO of President of Fab City Network. I'd like to start by saying thank you for being here. I believe that the social order should focus on preserving life on Earth, because without life, there will be nothing. There's no financial or political system to protect if there is no life. So for many years, I have been working in social innovation projects, economic innovation initiatives to try to develop processes that can be positive for the planet, for local environmental services and systems. I'm an economist by training, and I've tried to develop economic growth models that can be more positive with the environment and that can be replicated, that can be scaled up in a positive way for the environment. In the last 2 years, I started working for Fab City, this global network of cities. The network was founded in Barcelona in 2014 with the aim of making cities locally productive, which means that they should achieve some form of self-sufficiency in resource management, that they adopt many principles of circular economy so that they need to import less resources like water, for instance, and they can become more self-sufficient, which will be more positive for their future. The commitment for 2024 is to continue growing. There are 24 cities in the world who are part of this network, and each city is a different example. I represent Mexico City, but we also work with other cities in Mexico like Yucatan and Puebla. And we're trying to design different models. Mexico City is developing a systemic growth model that focuses on two things. And this is our specific proposal to the global network. On the one hand, we want to help organizations become more mature so that they can have a team of innovators that learns how to identify opportunities for innovation internally and externally. So the idea is to have a system that enables them to identify new business models and ideas that can help in the future, that can lead to the transformation that we need. The second pillar of Mexico City's proposal is to design profiles or archetypes of citizens, individuals who can update the system in which we live. We believe that citizens today don't have the right mindset to be a change agent. Individuals, and I see myself also as a citizen and as an individual, we all work in different places, in the government, in the private sector, but the truth is that cities are made up of individuals, of citizens. So we believe that if we do capacity building with citizens at that level, and we try to go to them in their different fields of activities, then they can become change agents. So we've come up with a series of characteristics that we hope to see in citizens of the future that can lead to a better world. So some of the characteristics that we believe citizens should have is, for instance, critical thinking, systemic thought, local perspective. They should always act locally, but at the same time thinking globally, considering global trends, because we're all citizens of the world. So it's important to live in our geography, in our case, Mexico or Brazil or wherever you may be, but at the same time, global climate trends are a reality. They affect us all. So we also need to think globally as humanity because we coexist in the world. And we need to start thinking about how we can contribute in a systemic way to other regions that maybe share geographic or climate features with us. I think something that the pandemic taught us is that we are one. The world is one. We face the same challenges. And we're living in a world where information is ubiquitous. It is ever flowing. So in a way, we have many things in common. And the impact that we can have is also very similar. Production and consumption trends around the world are similar. So there are many things we have in common. Claudia talked about how we always think about growing, having more, and that's no longer sustainable. So I think those are the kinds of ideas that we need to rethink. We need to rethink the way we are as citizens, how we consume and how we produce. So in Fab City, we're working on these strategies. Organizations are trying to come up with proposals and ideas, and through an innovation department, I think organizations can start to identify good ideas out there that I think we should all be committed to finding. I think innovation should be a driver because that's what will lead to change the status quo of a process in order to generate exponential benefits. So innovation is exactly that, transforming our reality and generating exponential benefits. So it can happen in many ways, in many fields. What we believe is that we need to stop reacting, because I think institutions, schools, governments, businesses have always reacted. We always react to problems, but we don't think ahead. And that's what has led to the problems that we experience today. So I believe we need to be more proactive, and that's where innovation comes in. The question also asked how in places where human rights are violated, how can we make an improvement without affecting nature as well? I think we need an update in people's mindsets so that they can in turn generate new business models, new organizational models. And I think we need to work on capacity building for people, because we're all human beings, regardless of where we live in the mountain ranges of Chiapas or here in the city. So let's bring information everywhere so that we all live with a good quality of life in harmony with the environmental resources that we have. So two key takeaways, I think, are that first, we need an update as citizens, as individuals. We need a new mindset to approach the problems that we face. And second of all, the organizations also need to be more forward-looking so that they can manage innovation for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar, for giving us very concretely how innovation can work for organizations through capacitation, through cities, but also how at the individual level we need to make change in how we relate to the world, to the environment. Last but not least, I would like to invite Jose Luis Rodriguez Diaz de Leon, who is a Secretary of Labor and Employment, a constituent of the ILO, the International Labor Organization. Secretary General, the floor is yours to answer the same question. 7 minutes, please. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, and good evening for those who are in countries where it's night already. It's a pleasure to be here sharing this panel with all the speakers who came before me. I've been listening very closely because we are definitely in the middle of a transformation. In Mexico, we are enacting very deep change, a transformation. We didn't just undergo a change of administration, but a change of regime, I would say. It's the end of a neoliberal era that for 40 years was imposed and led to tremendous inequality. It impoverished our population, and the situation is quite serious, but we are now creating a new strategy. We are rebuilding with a focus on transformation. And I think that today, through the Global Forum, we have the responsibility, but also the opportunity to exchange experiences so that we build a new model for development where people are really at the center. We have a great responsibility to think of concrete actions that can lead to this future. And the Mexican government and our president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, has put forward very basic concepts to talk about the path towards the future. And one of the pillars of the actions of the Mexican government and also the government of Mexico City, Claudia Sheinbaum, is the principle of honesty and equality. They have said repeatedly that you cannot have a rich government with poor people. The public powers need to be at the disposal of the people, and the economy needs to lead to welfare for everyone with the right and fair distribution of wealth, something that can really benefit all of us. We need to stop criminalizing poverty, which can lead to even more difficult conditions for most of our population, because most of the population in Mexico are, to begin with, women. We have a majority of women. And we need to understand that the market does not substitute the state. So we need to start focusing on the poor, the poorest. No one should be left behind. No one should be forgotten. And we need to guarantee the respect of rights. We need to try to bring peace to our country as well, because it's important. I think it's worth sharing with all of you who are listening to me in different parts of the world that Mexico had a very difficult problem with violence, with insecurity, and the public policies that had been enacted before led to our country essentially becoming a cemetery. So now we are trying to bring peace, to understand migration differently as well. We believe that migration needs to be done by choice. It should never be forced. Migration should happen not because of fear of violence or hunger, but because people choose to do so. So I believe this forum is important to exchange ideas and actions that can help us act collectively. We need to understand that the best way to move forward is leaving no one behind. The best way to recognize our importance is to set goals, because internationally, many important goals have been set for the world. In Mexico City, since 2019, I think this is also worth mentioning, signed agreements to promote decent work here in Mexico City, creating a program, public policy that could make that a reality. And let me tell you that Mexico City, which you could think is 100% urban, is not. In fact, most of the territory in Mexico City is a natural area. And in fact, agriculture is one of the most important economic activities. Mexico City is the largest nopal producer, the largest producer of orchards, of flowers. And I think it's important to also see ourselves like that, to see ourselves differently, not only as an urban center, because that can help us think of actions that strengthen the ability to cool down our planet. Through better public policy, we can think of actions that can lead to better opportunities and a better quality of life. And of course, the civil society can also contribute if we listen to all the examples that have been shared with us from Korea, and Claudia and Oscar in Mexico, all of these things are very important, because if we listen to each other, we can implement better actions. As the representative from Costa Rica said, we need a more humanist model. And I think in that sense, I'd also like to share that that's exactly what we're trying to do in Mexico City. That's our aim. And to do so, we believe cooperatives must be strengthened. Those who work in agriculture, ecotourism, and environmental initiatives. And in my next intervention, I think I will be able to say more about some of the concrete examples of the work that we do here in Mexico. Thank you.
Sorry, I was talking on mute. Thank you, Jose Luis, for touching on some very critical issues based on the experience of Mexico City. And not only you, but all of the speakers, although you're coming from such different area of experiences and countries and paths of life, talked in a very similar fashion of almost philosophical, although you might be policymakers and practitioners, but very philosophical about principles and values and a paradigm shift that is needed, not only at the individual level, but also at the organizational and societal level, and the way we produce and the way we consume. So it was indeed very inspiring. I'm afraid I have not been a very good moderator because I haven't managed time very well. So for this next round, I'm going to apologize, but ask our speakers to be very, very brief in answering the question that I'm just going to pose you in 2 minutes. I know it's not fair, and it's my mistake that I didn't allow you to have more time for this round. But the question for the second round is, what should be the actions or strategies of individuals, governments, groups, societies, countries to achieve a better and more inclusive world? What key actions should be promoted at the local level? In a way, you already started explaining these. Perhaps in these 2 minutes, you could just pull those in a succinct manner. And I would like to give the floor again first to His Excellency, Vice President of Costa Rica. The floor is yours. 2 minutes, sir. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Amiga.
Well, dear friends, it is extremely hard to be able to say what I would like to say in only 2 minutes, but I will try to sum up with the following. The simultaneous crisis through which global society is going through needs to be considered a deep human rights crisis, because denying the right to collectively associate and have free speech, access to a decent living conditions and health care and a job is what leads many people to move from their origin countries. So we cannot turn away from this problem. We cannot look away. We need to talk about an economy for life and to have an economic transformation to create new societies where it is evident that our Haitian, Venezuelan, and Central American brothers and sisters need to struggle, and they are now looking for ways to protect their own lives, and they put their own lives at risk. They are subject to several different types of abuse and violence in their journey as well. The reasons why they are leaving their countries are very diverse and very complex, but it would be wrong to think that it is necessary to strengthen individuality and to ignore the structural causes underlying this phenomenon. No country in the region, regardless of how big and powerful it might be, could address this problem individually. In the same way, the healthcare crisis caused by COVID and the environmental crisis caused by climate change, as well as the degradation of ecosystems, are problems that cannot be addressed by one country alone. So what is the root cause for this migration movement, for example? We have organized crime and illegal economies, the environmental degradation, climate change, an economic model that preys on people because it considers people to be to be easy to throw away, to waste. So this is something that must absolutely change. This structural problem has led to an unprecedented crisis for labor institutions and also the social protection mechanisms that are in place. Having the rights to decent work and right living conditions is more than a standard that must be followed. The rights to living in a healthy environment, having drinking water and drainage is also a privilege now, a privilege that few people have in Latin America. So we must be extremely ambitious and also apply concrete measures as well as public policies and strategies based on substantive rationality. This needs to be a human rights-based approach that puts people and their relationship with the planet at its very center. So what do I mean by these ambitious measures? I know that I have depleted the time. I'm sorry, but I would just like one more minute. We must protect the constitutional right to access water, drinking water. This is something that Costa Rica does that positions it at the front of sustainable development. And this would not be possible without grassroots organizations which have organized in Costa Rica to have good water management practices. We have several institutions for securing water management and providing drinking water all over the country. It would also not be possible without cooperatives for rural electrification, which for many years have been investing some of their surplus to by recharging devices in order to preserve water. It is also relevant to point out that it is a significant investment on behalf of these cooperatives to extend their generation capacity so that wind, solar, and hydropower in Costa Rica can continue to operate throughout most of the year and generating energy from renewable sources. The Coalition for Nature and People is another example of concrete and ambitious measures that must be given priority in order to drive the environmental transformation of our country. This is something that is a necessary condition so that people all around the continent and the world can aspire to a decent existence without being forced to leave their countries of origin. I'm sorry to go over time. I apologize, but I felt that it was necessary to provide my opinion about what I think should be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Claudia, same questions to you. 2 minutes, please.
Gracias. Sí, en 2 minutos.
Yes, thank you. It is indeed impossible to talk about the millions of experiences that have taken place in the world. 2 years ago, I was in Korea. It was a very extraordinary experience. There are many of them in Japan, Spain, France, and many other countries. There are thousands and thousands of experiences in Mexico, hundreds of practices in Mexico City as well. So I feel very optimistic about the level of creativity and competency on behalf of people and communities and their ability to organize and do things right. So I think that this is something that we can assure. And there are, of course, urban gardens, production cooperatives, consumption groups. There are territory advocates, self-managed companies, retrieved companies. There are entire villages that were left abandoned that also were retrieved. So there are many groups of people carrying out practices like this. I just participated in one of thousands of projects in a community in Mexico City, which has focused on local production. So we have an urban crop, which is called Tlatelolco. So in many areas, we have local production, and we also have a focus on local consumption, and we use community currency, our own community currency. This experience started about 11 years ago, but there are some of them that have been around for 40 to 50 years, for example. There's this little book that we just published last week, or in the last few weeks, and we talk about this broad experience of connecting to different networks. We have community currency networks. We have urban crop currencies and cooperatives that participate as well. So what we are trying to do is to make these experiences increasingly comprehensive, and we want to collaborate to share our experience. And I believe that the movements in civil society already exist, but there are many challenges to establish a dialogue with civil society. So we need to have rhythm and a process for articulation, and it is necessary for these local governments to learn how to listen to the experience that has been gathered by civil society. And we must continue to defend these diverse ways to do things. It's very enriching.
Thank you very much, Claudia, for these inspiring thoughts again. Kevin, the floor is yours. 2 minutes, same question.
Oui, alors, vous m'entendez, j'espère.
Bueno, muy bien. Okay, very good. I hope you can hear me well. In my opinion, well, I think somebody also said this, and the pandemic has taught us that human beings need to be at the core of action research. They must be the basis of the interests, all the activities, and the underlying cause for everything that we do. And something that I want to talk about right now is that big international organizations drive the world. They are driving forces behind states' decisions for development. They attempt to democratize and to take away the complexity that is required, that must be considered for the support that's to be given to the states. So we need to work with ministers, for example, but they are very rich people who buy cars, have luxurious vacations, and at the local level, there doesn't seem to be an importance. So I would like to point out that international organizations and their partners who have an infinite amount of resources, and they also live very luxurious lives, they should perhaps partner with NGOs and work also at the local level, which is extremely important. And something else is that regarding inclusion, in order for the economy and the results to be tangible, it is necessary to include young people in everything that we do. It is a partnership that should be made with young people, because youth right now are much more creative, active, dynamic. It is not the same kind of youth that we had in the 70s. So it's youth 4.0, let's say. So we cannot keep moving forward as if we were still in the 60s. We still need to have a new type of collaboration with youth, and youth should be on the front line. They must be valued in all of these processes. At the state level, it's also very important to involve and consult grassroots organizations, because communities seem to never be involved and to not be aware of the type of projects that are being implemented. So when we wish to develop a project, community should be an essential part of it. It's not that they should be a priority, but they should at least be involved in projects even before it starts. Thank you very much. This is what I wanted to highlight regarding management for communities and everything that we've talked about. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, the involvement of youth, co-creation of policies and programs, it's a running theme that's emerging from our speakers. Juhi, the floor is yours. 2 minutes, same question, please.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce briefly experience in terms of working for actions that include members and producers in government and other stakeholders. So 10 years ago, we opened our the 6th industrial clusters, thanks to the financial support of members and producers and employees to protect the Korea's eco-friendly agriculture and incomes of farmers and safe food and environments. So by bringing together production facilities and logistics in one location, this park we call the Natural Dream Park, and this park integrates synergy to create a stable production base and provide a safe and healthy food at reasonable price for everyone. And we also established infrastructure for the sustainable, the eco-friendly production and consumption, and the producers and farmers secured added value through these the processed food products. Also, we aimed through these parks into implement eco-friendly policies regarding the plastic packages or other issues. So no plastic products have ever been made. And also we have a small recycling factory in this park. And lastly, the park was designed to include a culture facility such as the theater or cafe or other culture facility for the community people, hoping to revitalize this local community and tourism and create jobs for the local people. And I think the project is very meaningful to our businesses and activities because of a cooperation among the local government. So we and the government look into the issue of the community and cooperate together to open these natural dream parks. So I think this public and private partnership based on the trust was able to succeed by identifying each other's rules and mobilizing resources together and ensuring the autonomy of our cooperatives. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing this industrial cluster example, demonstrating cooperation, coordination, co-creation of these good practices. The next speaker is Oscar Velasquez. 2 minutes, same question, Oscar.
Muchas gracias. Bueno, pues yo
Okay, thank you. I believe that we must start rethinking the way in which we measure development. In this case, how should we drive innovation with the indicators and metrics that we use for the development of humanity, and how do we intervene in these processes? It is important to reconsider because we are what we measure. And if we don't measure, we cannot compare with anything. So we become that which we measure. Therefore, I think that we have not updated the indicators that we usually resort to. Indicators are not constantly changed, and this process is very slow, the process of changing the indicators that we use. One of the indicators are citizens, and they are one of the most important indicators for development. What kind of citizens are we? What are the citizens that coexist in the planet today, and what impact are they generating? So if we rethink the indicators and if we rethink the meaning of being a citizen in the world, which is very homogeneous at this point, we could perhaps revamp many practices to measure development. In this case, there are some of the characteristics of a citizen that should be considered. Citizens, for example, should be innovative, inventors, entrepreneurs, taking risks to redesign the future, should be able to collaborate locally, not only think about it or imagine a possibility, but maybe also having collaboration at the local and global level. Now that this is possible with the internet, having a systemic thought is also very important. So thinking about the system and not the solution, because there's a distinction to be made there. And they should also be prosumers. We should not only wait for mega companies to provide solutions, but with the use of technology, we can also have local production with a high quality. We should also be biocentric. As I told you before, design needs to be based on nature and the planet. And being local citizens is very important, not only to think that, okay, I am a Mexican or maybe I am Korean. We are just one person. We are sharing also the same genetic characteristics, and we are united as a human species. So I would like to end with a quote from Missy Fuller, who says that we cannot change things by fighting against existing reality. In order to change things, we must create one or more models that make the current model obsolete. So it is not going to be possible to have change by doing the same things. So I believe that the way to transform is to change the way that we measure. How do we measure citizens, and how do we innovate in these indicators to have more transcendental development, to have a different legacy to the next generations? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oscar. That's a topic very close to my heart, measuring, importance of monitoring, tracking, and shifting our measures from GDP to well-being to buen vivir, and and the social economy, of course, as a new model. Our last speaker again has patiently been waiting, Jose Luis Rodriguez. The floor is yours. Same questions. Jose Luis, what do you say? 2 minutes.
Gracias. Por supuesto que si planteamos y pensamos.
Thank you. Well, if we think about creating well-being, we must change our paradigms. We must construct new concepts and making it possible to understand each other better. It is also a very important time to rethink the actions that are being taken from the civil society and at the government level. Here, from October 2021 until October next year, we are going to undergo a consultation process. You will make calls, open calls, to create the General Development Plan for Mexico City, which is going to last 20 years, as well as the Territorial Ordinance Program. So these are two planning documents which are going to be essential for the processes that we are talking about today, the shift in paradigms that's necessary to have inclusive planning, to have the right perspective. This requires the participation of everyone in order to define public policies at the short, mid, and long term. And I also agree that we need to create new indicators. And if the goal is to design new strategies, new public policies that include everyone, then of course it is also necessary to create new measurement mechanisms that allow us to know if we are on the right track, or if we are creating a process, which is a responsibility that we all share. And all of the population, for example, in Mexico City, but we need to make sure that this happens to have economic transformation. These actions require collective participation. There's no way to do this on our own. So it's very important to work collectively. So I believe that we must keep moving forward in this way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jose Luis. Thanks to all the speakers for all the good thinking that they have shared in the terms of shift in paradigms, the need for co-creation of innovative solutions, whether this is through participation, coordination, systemic thinking, new measures, and of course, the role of cooperatives and wider social and solidarity economy initiatives, community action on the ground that is coming up with amazing experiences that need to be shared, need to be further, better connected to really reach a tipping point. I'm afraid we did run out of time, so I would like to ask if we could take a photo of the participants before we close the session. We have 1 minute. If people can put on their cameras, those of you who can.
Hola amigos emprendedores de la red iberoamericana. Mi nombre es Daniela Rendón, saludándolos de la Ciudad de México. Represento a GSS Protección y Beneficio Familiar, Sociedad Cooperativa de Consumo. En GSS COP, nuestro compromiso es con la seguridad social, el desarrollo profesional y económico de todos nuestros socios, a través de un modelo de publicidad y promoción digital formado por un equipo de emprendedores que buscamos maximizar la comercialización de nuestros productos y servicios. Adicionalmente, generamos ingresos fijos y crecientes con la incorporación de nuevos socios comerciales a la cooperativa. Contamos con una revista digital con emisión mensual que incluye un directorio comercial clasificado por las actividades económicas de los socios, así como artículos de interés, entrevistas, videos y promociones que los socios deseen publicar, logrando crear sinergia comercial dentro de la cooperativa.
En Sociedad Cooperativa Trabajadores de Pascual S.C.L. somos más que una embotelladora de bebidas de frutas. A través del tiempo, hemos demostrado que es posible la organización laboral para consolidar una empresa sana, que hoy es ejemplo del sistema cooperativista en México. Con bebidas como Boing, Pato Pascual y Lulú, que son nuestros estandartes, nos hemos mantenido en el gusto y preferencia de los consumidores de varias generaciones. Para conformarnos como cooperativa, hubo la necesidad de sensibilizar a todos los trabajadores y optar por un estilo laboral y de vida que nos permitiera mejorar nuestra situación económica, social y cultural. Este sistema ha logrado crear una sinergia de productividad y beneficio colectivo. Ser una empresa como esta es un gran orgullo, un ejemplo de perseverancia y esfuerzo, donde el consumidor es quien se beneficia al tener a su alcance productos nacionales de la mejor calidad. En Cooperativa Pascual estamos conformados por una extraordinaria infraestructura acorde al siglo XXI, en el que trabajamos con equipo y tecnología de vanguardia, lo que nos permite fijar metas a corto y largo plazo basadas en las necesidades del mercado y las preferencias de los consumidores. Contamos con 2 plantas de producción, una en San Juan del Río, Querétaro, y otra en Tizayuca, Hidalgo, en las que elaboramos toda la gama de productos aplicando los más altos estándares de calidad, con la confianza de responder en tiempo y forma a la gran demanda del cada vez más competido mercado de bebidas. En estas plantas producimos más de 40 millones de cajas anuales, con el apoyo de 4 sedes en la Ciudad de México, 30 sucursales y un creciente número de distribuidores autorizados a lo largo del territorio nacional. Comercializamos nuestras ya tradicionales marcas como son Boy, Pato Pascual, Lulú, Néctasis, Agua Purificada, Mexicola y Power Dog, además de la leche Pascual. Nuestras plantas tienen la certificación de sistemas de gestión de calidad ISO 9001-2015 en los procesos de elaboración de bebidas, néctares y pulpas de fruta. Asimismo, contamos con la certificación de FDA en Estados Unidos, lo que nos permite exportar nuestros productos a este país. Para la elaboración de nuestros productos, utilizamos fruta selecta, verificada directamente por nuestra área de control de calidad. Apoyamos el desarrollo y crecimiento del campo nacional, ya que beneficiando a los productores del campo mexicano, en Cooperativa Pascual consumimos más de 20,000 toneladas de frutas al año. Y con la compra directa del azúcar que se requiere para la elaboración de las bebidas que comercializamos, se apoya también a los ingenios azucareros de nuestro país. En una empresa como esta, basamos parte de nuestra fortaleza en la distribución de nuestros productos. Por esto, contamos con una infraestructura de unidades de reparto, asegurando así que nuestras bebidas se puedan disfrutar en cada rincón de México y el extranjero. Para Cooperativa Pascual, el consumidor es lo más importante. Por esto, nuestras decisiones, el personal, las inversiones en tecnología y capacitación se enfocan en satisfacer a los paladares más exigentes. La excelencia de nuestros productos nos ha merecido diversos premios, como el de la excelencia europea, el americano de calidad y reconocimientos internacionales al prestigio comercial de bebidas de marca y calidad. Dentro de la cooperativa tenemos una Fundación Cultural Trabajadores de Pascual y del Arte AC, con un amplio acervo pictórico de importantes artistas. Esta fundación realiza exposiciones por todo el país y apoya diversos proyectos culturales independientes. Por otra parte, contamos con un centro recreativo ubicado en San Juan, Teotihuacán, para el esparcimiento de los trabajadores y del público en general. Orgullosos de nuestra apuesta por el crecimiento sostenible, el compromiso con el medio ambiente, la creación de empleos y la integración, llevamos nuestras bebidas a cada vez más personas, que son la auténtica base de nuestro futuro. Ser una cooperativa no es solo una figura administrativa, es la orgullosa realidad de una empresa 100% mexicana. Somos lucha, somos calidad, somos la experiencia de más de 80 años en el mercado, somos líderes en la elaboración de bebidas, somos Cooperativa Pascual, calidad que sabe a tradición.